folks. This is Anthony with Honda Snowblower Enthusiasts and Facebook and YouTube. Does your Honda sound like that? If it does, it's surging, looking for gas, hunting for gas. And today I'm going to show you a quick video here on how the reasons behind the surging and how to fix it. So that what you just heard now is surging. Anytime somebody, this time of year, it's pretty common because people are bringing their snow blowers out of storage to check them out before the winter, and they're finding this problem sometimes. And after the first snowfall, I get tons of messages on engines not running right. It's hard starting, or it's surging like you just heard. And sometimes it's bad gas, so sometimes I recommend that you drain most of the gas and put in new gas and drain the old gas from the carburetor. Oh, by the way, you folks that have subscribed to this channel, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. If these videos help you, please click the red subscribe button in the right corner. There's always a plane going by. Well, anyways, let's go through this. And when somebody I've seen online on snowblower forums, small engine forums, uh, all over the place, when people are talking about their engine surging like that, usually people will say, "Well, it needs a carburetor cleaning, or you need to replace the carburetor." Well, not so fast, folks. That could be possible, but if you've been a member of this group for the last couple years and started watching these videos, you'll know what I'll say. Let's check the obvious first. Let's check the simple things first. So the first thing you want to check is there gas in the tank. Now don't laugh. I mean, sometimes this is all it needs. You look in the gas tank, see if there's any gas. After a long layoff, there might be very little gas in there, and that's what it needs. Or on the older machines, and I've talked about this before, if you left your gas on, sometimes the gas can leak over from the carburetor over into the crankcase and overflow your oil. The easiest way to tell is check your oil. Now, if the oil's overflowing a lot and smells like gas, then gas leaked over from the carburetor. Now, that doesn't happen very often. It's usually with the older machines. So the first thing you check is the gas. The second thing you check is make sure your fuel valve is on. Right now it's off. I'm going to show you why. I was letting the carburetor run dry. And if your engine sounds like that after a long layoff, or you haven't used it for a while, check to make sure the gas valve is on. Because if it's off, it will run fine for a couple minutes and then it will start surging. So the second thing you want to do is check your fuel to make sure the fuel is on. So that's pretty simple, right? So that's a couple things you do. Now the third thing you do, I got a list here. My technical advisor, Gary K. in Missouri, made this suggestion that I keep some notes handy so I don't keep on jumping all around. I do things in order. And next time Gary's in Reno, I'll buy him lunch at In-N-Out Burger. I don't have $1 million production team here. So, well, anyways, let's go on here. Oh, the next thing it could be, and here's the symptom. You start the machine up, it runs fine for 10 or 15 minutes, and then it stalls. And then you can't get it restarted. Now, the possible culprit would be a defective gas cap. These gas caps have a vent in them to keep air in the tank. Now, if the vent gets clogged, it creates a vacuum in your fuel tank. and the fuel is not allowed to flow to the carburetor. So this is a simple thing to check. All you have to do when it starts surging, if it's been running fine for about 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes, and then it starts surging on you and you can't figure out what's going on, loosen the gas cap or taking it off and wait a minute and see if it stops surging. If so, then just replace the gas cap unless you can clean the vent. So I just replaced the cap. It's only about $10. So that usually happens on older machines also when the cap gets clogged, the vent gets clogged. Okay. Now I'll show you another reason. Instead, a lot of people will say, "Well, you got to clean the carb." Well, that's probably true, but let's eliminate all the simple things first that I've already gone through. Now, the next thing would be an air leak in the carburetor. An air leak around the carburetor. If you don't have a good seal right here where your gasket goes between the head and the carburetor, the seal, I mean, not the seal, I mean, the gasket failed, or the gasket's broken, or if you put a new carburetor on, you forgot to put the new gasket on, or if it's loose, then you're going to create a slight air leak. And you've got another uh, thing right here. It's not a gasket. I can't remember what it's called. It's a metal part, but it creates a seal between. This is your elbow, and there's your carburetor. Let me start it up. I can create an artificial surging problem. I'm going to start it up. The gas is on. It's going to surge for a couple seconds, and then as the gas gets into the carburetor, it will stop surging. Now, after it stops surging, I'm going to show you what this air leak is. If these nuts, there's two nuts that hold the elbow on. If they're loose, it might be just need to tighten up, or there may be a leak, and right here where the elbow connects to the carburetor, or right here. And the way to find out for sure is to spray some when it's running and it's surging. You spray some starting fluid or carburetor cleaner in this area, in these areas. And if the engine changes sound, if it starts going up in RPMs, that means you do have a leak. So you're going to have to take the elbow off and check this check this seal here, and perhaps remove the carburetor and inspect the carburetor gasket and possibly change it. So let me start it first. I put the gas back on, so it will surge for a couple seconds and then even out. It should, anyways, because I put the gas back on. I put the choke on. It's kind of cold. You see how it evened out? Because the gasoline went back into the carburetor. Now let me do this. You see how I created that artificial leak there by loosening up this nut, the connection, of course, your connection between the elbow and the carburetor. It created an air leak right there, and that's why it's surging again. So you can check that too. I see that once in a while, especially if you've taken off the elbow to adjust the choke or do some carburetor work, clean the carburetor and Inframe, which I'll post a link to at the end of this video. A box will pop up and you can watch the Inframe carburetor cleaner video that I have. It's pretty popular right now. Well, anyways, I see this happen once in a while, so that's something to check. Now, if all these simple things it checks out okay, the next thing you want to do is check the pilot screw. Now here it is under here. I'll show you where it is. Right there. I had this in the other video on how to do this in frame. You remove this screw. Let's see if I can do this. I'm going to have to get another tool to pull it out. Move that screw. That's how you can adjust your idle sometimes. And then this little doohickey. Let's see if I can get that out. Pull that out. It fell down somewhere. I'm going to have to find it. Now this is your idle jet. This is the sometimes people call it the idle circuit. Pilot jet, idle jet. I gotta pull that out for you. Let me get another tool real quick. You're gonna pry it out with this screwdriver. You want to pry it out. This is your idle circuit jet. Now, if you look at the very end here, there is a little O-ring. It's a 1 millimeter by 4 millimeter O-ring. And you want to inspect that. You want to make sure that it's not broken. It's not flat. This one's a little bit flat. But it's running okay. Since I've got it out, I'll probably change this O-ring right now. But then here's the hole. What you want to take some carburetor spray with the straw and spray in there. Now you got 2 holes on the sides. You see this hole? It goes all the way through on both sides. When you put your straw at the bottom here and spray, carburetor spray should come out of both sides very, very freely. They should really shoot out. If it does shoot out very well, then you know that this hole is clean. Now, if it doesn't shoot out or it just dribbles, then you got to put something in that hole, clean it out. Like I have, what do you call it? Torch cleaners. I have these tiny wires that I can push in there, turn around and clean out this hole. You can find something else. Some people use mini drill bits. Some people will even use a tie from a loaf of bread. They'll take the plastic off the metal part there and they stick that in there and push it in there and clean it out. And then get your carburetor spray and then try it again and see if it will clean out very, very well. In some cases, this may have to be replaced if it's damaged or you made the hole too big or whatever. You don't want to increase that hole, as far as I know. Some people say it's okay, but I like to leave it stock. There's different sizes for different Hondas, and if you have to replace it, I think it's $17 for this little guy. But anyways, once it's all clean, you can do an in-frame cleaning also. You take the elbow off. Watch that video that I'm going to post at the end of this video on how to do an in-frame cleaning. Now, in-frame cleanings usually work, especially if the machine was working well last winter and now you're just suddenly getting the surging problem and you've already checked all the simple things beforehand. The in-frame cleaning usually works. Now, if it doesn't, if you got rust in here, if you take the bowl cover off and you see a bunch of rust or white powder or whatever, you'll probably have to take the carburetor off and clean it in an ultrasonic cleaner or some kind of carburetor solution. If that doesn't work, then I just replace the carburetor with a Honda carburetor. But anyways, once you've gotten this all cleaned out and the O-ring looks good, I put a little bit of lubricating oil on the O-ring, and then I push it back in. I can also take my straw. There's a hole in here. You can't see it, I don't think, but there's a hole at the bottom of this hole. You can stick your straw in there and spray too, and clean that part. So you put a little bit of lubricating oil at the end here, so that it will push back in easily. You don't want to force it. If you're finding that you're having to force it in, then you might damage that O-ring. So if you should be able to just push it down just like that. It just clicks in. It clicks in, and then you can put the rest of it together. So that's about what you can do when you have a surging problem. Uh, I can't think of anything else. We covered all the simple things, and a lot of times it's this jet that has to be cleaned, and if that doesn't work, then do an in-frame cleaning of your carburetor. So this will work for anything. This will work for any small engine, all different snow blowers. I'm using a Honda snowblower in this video, of course. It will work on any small engine, generator engines, wood splitter engines, anything with a small engine on. It's very common to have the surging problem, especially after a long layoff and you have bad gas. The gas starts varnishing up after a while, and these passages in the carburetor are very tiny. So after a while, it might take a couple years. You start clogging up your carburetor a little bit at a time, and this is going to happen. So once again, always use fresh premium unleaded gas or ethanol-free gas. Treat it with a gas stabilizer when you fill up your jug at the gas station. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a great weekend.